Good evening. Before I begin, I want to thank Bianca for that wonderful introduction. Hearing from a former Bishop Walker student who is now thriving both academically and athletically in college is a powerful reminder of why we are gathered here tonight. Your journey reflects the very promise this school was built to nurture. Thank you so much, Bianca. It's an honor to be with you tonight. When I consider education, I don't first think about classrooms. I think about freedom, because education is where freedom first takes root. My ancestor Frederick Douglass once said that knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. He understood that literacy was more than just reading words on a page. It was about claiming ownership of his own mind. My other ancestor, Booker T. Washington, built schools not only to educate minds, but also to shape futures. He believed that when you build institutions, you create stability. When you create stability, you cultivate dignity. Both of my ancestors understood the same truth. Education changes a life, but it does not stop there. It also changes a lineage. My mother, Nettie Washington Douglass, is here tonight. She is the living union of the Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington families, the convergence of two legacies grounded in education, discipline, and faith. Through the union of her parents, those historic bloodlines came together, and she has carried her inheritance with grace, elegance, and with purpose. Mom, will you please stand? And I am so grateful, because my mother reminds me that legacy is not something we passively inherit. It is something we actively steward with intention. We all stand on the shoulders and walk in the shoes of those who came before us. And history lives in each of us. And that is why education never merely is personal, it is generational. Bishop John T. Walker understood that as well. He was not only a bishop, he was a builder. As the first African-American bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, he believed faith must confront real-world issues. He believed leadership involves expanding opportunity and building stronger communities. He devoted his life to expanding possibilities in this city. Last year, in 2025, we marked what would have been his 100th birthday. And in this centennial year, as the Bishop Walker School celebrates the 100th anniversary of the enduring legacy that inspired its founding, we see the living expression of that vision. And before I go further, I want to recognize someone whose example speaks more powerfully than any words I could offer tonight. Mrs. Walker. It is a great honor to be in your presence. Your husband's dedication to justice and education continues to influence young lives every single day. You have protected and carried this legacy with grace and steadfast devotion, and because of you, it stands. Mrs. Walker, your presence among us reminds us that this legacy is not behind us, it is alive in the work before us. Bishop Walker School for Boys is not simply a building, it is a commitment that boys in Southeast Washington deserve rigorous education, strong character formation, and the structure that prepares them to lead. And that promise is being carried forward every day by dedicated faculty, visionary leadership, and a board that understands both stewardship and ambition. The young boys in this school are not only being educated, they're being challenged, mentored, and prepared to make an impact. That work being done at Bishop Walker today is disciplined, intentional, and transformative. This institution is strong and in good hands. Now, I first visited Bishop Walker in 2018, which was the bicentennial year of Frederick Douglass's birth. I remember the students' curiosity, their confidence, and the sense that something meaningful was taking shape at the school. And yesterday, I had the chance to spend some time with the students who are enrolled there today. What I saw was the same promise, strengthened, deepened, and guided by the work taking place in those classrooms every single day. So consider this. None of us arrived here alone. If we trace our stories back, we will find someone who invested in us long before we could give anything in return. The opportunities we enjoy did not appear by accident. They were forged by courage, forged by sacrifice, forged by investment. A 100th anniversary is not simply a time to look back. It's a time to decide what the next 100 years will look like. What kind of leaders will emerge from these classrooms? What kinds of citizens will shape this city, this nation, and perhaps even this world? The answer will not be determined by good intentions alone. It will be determined by resolve. Frederick Douglass said, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." And that is not just a quote. That's not a quote, it's a mandate. And that mandate is being lived out in this school every day. A man born into slavery taught himself to read in secret and altered the conscience of a nation. Another man, born enslaved, built schools that still stand more than a century later. Their bloodlines converged. And because they believed in education, I stand before you tonight. That is the power of building strong children. That is the power of institutions built on discipline and dignity. And that is the power of what is happening at Bishop Walker. In a few moments, when you lift your paddles, you're not just supporting a school, you're entering a lineage of builders and believers. You're deciding that 100 years from now, someone else will stand in a place as sacred and significant as this space. And say that because of the generosity shown here tonight, their family's trajectory was forever altered. The doors that opened for my ancestors were opened by struggle and sacrifice. The doors that remain open today are sustained by vigilance. Now it is our turn to build something that will outlast us. Not in theory, not in sentiment, but in action. All of us have been entrusted with an inheritance. Now it's up to decide what we will pass on to the next generation of leaders, forged in the mold of Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington and all the freedom fighters that came before us. Booker T. Washington said, "If you want to lift up yourself, lift up someone else." Yes, history lives in each of us, but the future depends on how we carry it forward. Thank you. Thank you.